Hello and welcome back to Assorted Beefs, where I talk about anything I want to that doesn't fit into niche tea for any particular reason. Here is Jorts. If I am in the chair, Jorts is in the lap. We're talking about this video.
Hey guys, I'm Monty.
And I'm Sierra.
My wife and I are the ones suing them. Actually, our business Bashify is suing their business Bashco.
Right, so you may have seen this. It's gone pretty viral on TikTok. It is a little confusing because the video that he is supposedly stitching is not itself on TikTok. It is a video that the other two people posted on Instagram. So on one side, we've got Chris and Bree, who own a company called Bashify. And on the other side, we have Monty and Sierra, who did own a company called Bashco. Seems like it was an unsuccessful business. Now, what seems to have prompted this video from Chris and Bree about Monty and Sierra is that Monty and Sierra posted, I want to say on the 16th, the video that you see in the very beginning of Chris's video there, which is them launching an entirely different company. The video from Monty and Sierra is largely entirely unrelated to anything going on with Chris and Bree. However, they make reference to situations that is what seemed to have prompted Chris and Bree to be like, no, fuck this. I'm telling the truth of what seemingly has been happening between these two sets of couples over the last several years. So Monty and Sierra's video that they posted on the 16th is them launching, as I said, their new business, which is a Jesus/Christian focused clothing line. And in this video, the theme behind the launch is very much like our lives are very hard and we were in like a dark period in our lives. And that's when we like found Jesus and reestablished our faith. And in that video, Sierra makes a specific point to say like what drove her and ultimately her husband kind of like back into their faith. More specifically, like their bottoming out point was them getting legally notified of lawsuits and stuff on Christmas one year. And then they go on to say that the legal fees associated with all of the back and forth that they were doing like made their previous business go under, and that's why it wasn't successful, and they really reconnected with their faith. Very vague what they mean by that. I don't know how common that is when it comes to religion. I'm not a religious person. So now going back to Chris's video, Chris is basically saying that Monty and Sierra are putting forth a fake sob story to get people more interested in their brand. We've had conversations about this more recently here on TikTok specific to book talk, but it is something that people do in a lot of cases. Think back to the spicy cubes thing too. So then the meat of Chris's video is him going through the timeline from his perspective of what happened between him and his wife and Sierra and her husband. Summary of that is basically that Chris and Bree have a company, as I mentioned, called Bashify, and they do, I think, events type stuff. Chris claims that several years back, Bashify posted something on, I think it was TikTok, and Sierra and her personal account made a comment on that, basically saying that's our company name or close enough, and also we're doing things exactly like what you said, basically accusing them of stealing. Chris claimed that he then reached out to Sierra directly to see if they could work it out, to which Sierra basically said, like, it's trademark infringement. His response to that was supposedly, well, we looked up all the trademarks, like, and you can, it's public information, and there's nothing that says Bashify, so can you let us know more? And then Sierra responded allegedly saying, our lawyer will send you all the information, at which point they heard nothing else. So they claim. Then Chris goes on to say that he and his wife and their family ended up moving to Dallas, Texas, which, as it turns out, is where Monty and Sierra already lived. And they ended up encountering them in a mall, which just seems like ridiculously bad luck if true. Chris then claims they approached them and tried to talk it out, but that Sierra allegedly lost her shit, tried to call 911 on them, tried to call mall security on them, cussed them out, did the whole thing. Chris also claims and shows what appears to be a cease and desist letter that he claims that they got from Monty and Sierra, but the cease and desist was like, don't use our copyright and trademark stuff. But again, he's like, we couldn't find any actual copyright or trademark that was registered, so what do you mean? He then goes on to say that supposedly in the social circles both of these couples were running in, Sierra was allegedly going to people they knew and trying to get him and his wife blacklisted and their company Bashify blacklisted from working with other people. Chris then says he and his wife went to consult a lawyer, and the lawyer or law office felt confident that there were significant damages they could prove that had been done to their company Bashify by Sierra and Monty. So then Chris and Bree sent a cease and desist of their own through their lawyer to Monty and Sierra. This is the legal notice that they were talking about that they got around Christmas. That cease and desist was basically like, you've got to stop defaming us to people locally, you're hurting our business, etc. You also have to come meet with us and talk with us about this for mediation or whatever. Otherwise, we're going to take you to court. They didn't hear back, according to Chris, so they took them to court. That lawsuit, it seems, is still ongoing, and that brings us up to current day in terms of the lore that exists between these two couples. I will say Chris's video is very detailed. He has a lot of alleged documentation. Obviously, I don't know how to tell if things are faked or not, but he also has a link to a Google Drive through his bio that has all the information for anybody to look at. What I think is interesting in this case is that Chris's whole video where he details all this, it looks like he is responding to allegations from Sierra and Monty, but that's not what's happening. They are literally just launching their brand. They tell a really vague story about, our business went under and we were legally attacked at Christmas. Like it is a sob story for marketing purposes. And very clearly, Chris, at least in my interpretation, Chris and Bree were like, oh, fuck this. I am sick of this. And then decided that they were just going to out this whole situation. My instinct leans toward believing Chris and Bree just because the amount of information that corroborates is pretty significant. It would require, from what I can see, like a decent amount of effort to put all of this together if you're just lying. Plus, and obviously this is 1,000% personal opinion, but the business model, marketing approach, everything for Monty and Sierra's current business, I'm not going to say the name of it, is a little iffy to me. They're talking about finding God. They're using a sob story, but they're not explaining, like, what did you start doing? Like, they just keep saying in really vague terms that they were closer to God. And maybe this is just because I am not well-versed in how people talk about this. And even if that is true and they just don't want to go into their personal details, cool. I'm not sure how that ties into buy a $75 sweatshirt that says God is good on it. Nothing in the marketing materials shows like a deeper reason why the religious aspect of it matters. And I don't see anything in the designs where it's like particularly unique. I'm not hearing anything about how like maybe it's very good quality or maybe like how it's going to be, they're using this business to support their local communities or their local religious groups or churches, etc. I'm not seeing any of that. So then to me, again, cynical marketer, it's just like you say Jesus enough and then you show stuff that says Jesus on it and you want people to buy the things because Jesus. Again, can't state this enough, not religious, might be totally off base there. Just feels a little pandering to me. The Jorts was asleep and now he's waking up. Hello? Hello? Yes. He's a good boy. I'm sorry I disturbed your nap. Oh, slow blinks. I love you. Go back to sleep.